Have you ever felt like there's more to you than what you're currently doing? Like there's a greater version of yourself trapped inside, waiting to emerge. The problem is not your background, your education, or your circumstances. The real issue is that most people have never discovered the spirit of leadership within them. Today, we're going to solve that problem, not by giving you a title, but by helping you discover who you were born to be. Welcome, my friend. I am so excited to take you on a journey today, not to a destination outside of you, but to a revelation within you. You were not born to chase success. You were born to lead. You were born to influence. But leadership is not a position. It is a spirit. And today, we are going to awaken that spirit of leadership that has been dormant in you for too long. We are going to rediscover the original blueprint of who you were created to be, my friend. Listen to me very carefully. We have been lied to. We have been misguided about what leadership truly is. From the moment you were born, the world began trying to fit you into a mold. Go to school, get a degree, find a job, climb a ladder, hope for a promotion. And maybe, just maybe, someone might call you a leader. But leadership does not begin when people give you a title. It begins when you wake up to your identity. Leadership is not something you pursue. Leadership is something you become. The problem with today's culture is that we think leadership is about controlment or power over others. But true leadership, the kind that transforms generations, has nothing to do with control. It has everything to do with purpose. Now hear me clearly, leadership is not a position. It is a disposition. It is a spirit, an attitude of the heart and mind that says, I was born to make a difference. And I don't need anyone's permission to become who I already am. You see, when God created man, He didn't give Adam a title. He gave him an assignment. He gave him dominion. That word, dominion, means to govern, to manage, to rule, to lead. And yet, Adam had no crowd, no followers, meetings. But he was a leader. Why? Because leadership was in his spirit. True leadership does not wait for applause. It doesn't wait for recognition. It starts with a vision, a conviction, and a willingness to serve that vision regardless of who's watching. Some of you are still waiting for someone to promote you before you start living like a leader. You're waiting for a title, a paycheck, a platform. But the spirit of leadership doesn't wait. It initiates. Let me ask you a question. Who told you that you are not a leader? Who told you that your past disqualifies you? Who told you that because you don't have a title, you don't have authority? Let me tell you something that religion won't tell you. And the world can't explain. God never called the qualified. He qualified the called before you were born. See, people confuse influence with popularity. But leadership is not about being famous. It's about being faithful. If you're taking notes, write this in your heart. Leadership is not about having followers. It's about having vision. Jesus, the greatest leader to ever walk this earth, never ran for office. He never held a political position. He never built a palace. And yet he changed the world. Why? Because he knew who he was, why he was sent, and what he came to do. That is the spirit of leadership. You see, titles are given by men. Spirit of leadership comes from God. And when you carry that spirit, it doesn't matter if you're cleaning floors, running a business, preaching a sermon, or raising a child, you lead from within. You might be a janitor with a vision bigger than the CEO. You might be working a 9 to 5, but deep down you know there's a company inside you. That's not pride, that's the spirit of leadership stirring in your belly. Some of you feel that stirring even now. You've been asking, is there more? You feel it when you're alone. You feel it when you look around at the systems of the world and say, this is not how things are supposed to be. That's not frustration. That's leadership waking up inside you. And let me tell you something else. Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about being responsible. It's about seeing a need and becoming the solution. It's about stepping up when everyone else steps back. It's about serving when there's nothing to gain. It's about influencing through example, not just instructions. That's why you must stop waiting for someone to validate what God already confirmed in you. You don't need to be voted in to be a leader in your generation. You just need to discover what you were born to do and commit your life to doing it. And that's spirit. It's contagious. When you begin to walk in the spirit of leadership, people will follow your influence even if they never recognize your title. Why? Because the human spirit was designed to respond to authenticity. And when someone walks in authority, not borrowed authority, but divine authority, people take notice. The spirit of leadership will cause you to rise even in a pit. Ask Joseph. It will promote you to prison. Ask Daniel. It will give you wisdom in a crisis. Ask Esther. Because when you carry the spirit of leadership, you cannot stay hidden. The gift will make room for you, not because you forced your way in, but because heaven already made space for your assignment. You are not a mistake. You are not a product of chance. You didn't begin when your mother met your father. Your body began in the womb, but your purpose, your assignment, your calling, it began in the mind of God long before the foundation of the world. Purpose is not something you decide. Purpose is something you discover. You see, God never creates anything without first finishing it. He doesn't start at the beginning like we do. He starts at the end. He completes a thing in eternity, then backs up and begins it in time. Which means you were born because there was something that needed to be done. There was a problem on the earth, and God released you as the solution. That's why I say your existence is proof that your purpose is necessary. Show you something. When an inventor creates a product, he doesn't begin by designing the product. He begins with the purpose. He asks, what problem am I solving? What function will this serve? What need must this meet? And after the purpose is clear, product is formed to match the purpose. That's what God did with you. He didn't create you and then try to find something for you to do. He created something for you to do it. And then He formed you to do it. That's why your shape, your mind, your personality, your gifts, your background, none of it is accidental. It is all intentional. You were crafted by design to fulfill a very specific assignment. And until you discover that assignment, life will always feel frustrating, empty, confusing. Even if you're successful, success without purpose is just well-packaged failure. That's why so many people climb the ladder of success only to find it leaning against the wrong wall. Because you can be busy, you can be popular, you can be rich, you can even be admired, yet still be out of alignment with the reason you were born. And I want you to hear this: purpose is not found in your job. Purpose is not found in a title. Purpose is not found in applause. Purpose is found in the mind of your Creator. If you want to know the purpose of a thing, don't ask the thing. Ask the one who made it. That's why we must stop looking to the world to define us. The world didn't make you. The culture didn't design you. Only the Creator can reveal why you exist. You were born to do something so specific, so necessary, that if you don't do it, the world will miss it. That's not arrogance. That's design. So before I was formed in my mother's womb, you knew me. You ordained me. You set me apart. What does that mean? That means you didn't come to earth looking for purpose. You came with it. It was already in you. You are not a biological accident. You are a divine appointment. And that's why the enemy has been fighting your identity since you were born. Because if he can keep you distracted, comparing yourself, chasing success, or conforming to culture, he can delay or even destroy the manifestation of your purpose. You see, purpose is powerful. Purpose gives you direction. It gives you focus. It tells you what to say yes to and what to walk away from. Some of you are in relationships that are draining your destiny. Not because you're weak, because you've never discovered your purpose. Because once you know why you're here, you stop wasting time on what doesn't align with your assignment. Purpose gives you discernment. You stop chasing money and start building vision. You stop imitating others and start activating your own gift. You stop living from the outside in and you start living from the inside out. And hear me well, purpose is not seasonal. It is eternal. You may change jobs, roles, or even locations, but your purpose never changes. It's the reason behind your life. It's the divine blueprint that follows you through every chapter, every challenge, and even every failure. Even your mistakes, your pain, your detours. They are all raw material that God will use to fulfill your purpose. Because the Romans say, not some things, all things. Even the things that hurt, even the doors that closed. Why? Because purpose is greater than circumstance. You weren't born to react. You were born to initiate. You weren't created to conform. You were designed to transform. And you will never be fulfilled until you step into what you were designed to do. The tragedy of life is not death. It is living without knowing why you were born. It is dying full of potential, full of dreams, full of gifts that were never unwrapped, visions never executed, solutions never released. But I came to tell you today, you were not just born, you were sent. And when you finally understand that, when you finally get a revelation that your life has a specific ordained purpose, then you begin to lead, not from a title, but from a deep, unshakable conviction. Let me say something that might surprise you. You were not created to follow. You were not created to fit in. You were not even created to survive. You were created to lead. And not just any kind of leadership. You were born to lead in your specific domain. Now, I know what the world has taught us. We've been programmed to believe that only a few people are natural leaders. The loud ones, the confident ones, the charismatic ones. But that is not what God said. God never said leadership was for the elite. God said, let them have dominion, not let him or her, but them. That means leadership is not a gift given to a select few. It is the birthright of every human being. It is embedded in your spirit. It is written into your DNA. But here's the key. Leadership is not generic. You were not born to lead in every area. You were born to lead in your area, your domain, your assignment, your field, your calling. You don't need to lead where someone else is already dominating. You need to find your garden. Because when Adam was placed on earth, God didn't tell him to control the whole plan. He put him in a garden and he said, work it, guard it, cultivate it. Rule Adam's leadership was tied to his environment. The same is true for you. God has assigned you a territory, a space, a sphere, an area of influence. It may be education or technology or business or medicine or music or government or art. Whatever it is, that's your garden. And in that garden, you were born to lead. You see, leadership is not about being in front of people. It's about discovering what you were born to master and then mastering it. When you find your domain, leadership is not a struggle. It flows naturally. Because when a fish is in water, it doesn't need swimming lessons. When a bird is in the sky, it doesn't need flying classes. And when you're in your domain, nobody needs to push you. You come alive. Some of you have been frustrated because you're trying to lead in a field that is not your own. You're trying to compete in someone else's lane, wondering why it's not working. It's not that you're not a leader. It's that you haven't found your environment. You don't need to be everything. You just need to be you. And when you're fully you in the place God designed for you, leadership will happen without force. Tell you something else. Your domain is not something you choose. It's something you uncover. It's been inside you since before you were born. Your gift is the clue. Your passion is the signal. Your frustration is the whisper of what you were born to fix. What is that thing that keeps you awake at night? The thing that stirs your spirit when you see it done wrong? That may be the territory God wired you to lead in. And let me make something very clear. Leadership in your domain is not about ruling over people. It's about ruling over problems. It's about becoming a solution in a space where others only see confusion. The world is not suffering from a lack of followers. It's suffering from a lack of people who understand their assignment. People who are not waiting for permission to lead, but are taking responsibility for what they were born to do. Your leadership is not determined by votes. It's not decided by job titles. It's activated by clarity. When you become clear about what you were created to solve, you begin to rise, not because people lifted you, but because purpose elevated you. And listen, when you lead in your domain, nobody can compete with you because you're not imitating, you're initiating. You're not performing, you're producing. You're not echoing someone else's success. You're releasing what only you carry. That's why comparison is a trap. You were never meant to be a copy. You were designed as a prototype. Your fingerprints are different. Your voice is different. Your vision is different. So your leadership must be different. There is a territory waiting for you to show up. There is a generation waiting for you to rise. There is a problem waiting for you to step into position. Not as a follower trying to fit in, but as a leader born to stand out. And when you do, stop chasing approval and start walking in assignments, everything begins to shift. If you don't know who you are, the world will tell you who to be. And the moment you allow someone else to define you, you have given up your leadership. Because leadership cannot be borrowed. It must come from within. You cannot lead while imitating someone else. You can copy their methods, their style, their image. But if you don't carry your own revelation, you're not leading. You're performing. And performance will wear you out because it's not sustainable when it's not authentic. The greatest challenge of your life will not be external. It will be discovering you truly are apart from what people expect you to be. You were born original, but the system trains you to become a duplicate. From school to society, from social media to tradition. We are constantly being told to follow, to blend in, to fit the mold. And that's exactly how leaders are lost. Not because they weren't gifted, but because they never discovered their true self. Let me make this clear. Leadership is not about copying someone who is successful. It is about discovering the version of yourself that God had in mind when He created you. God never made a mistake. He put something in you that the world needs, but the world can't activate it. Only you can. This is why self-discovery is critical. You must go on a journey to meet the person you were born to be, not the person shaped by culture, not the person manipulated by fear, not the person altered by failure. The real you, the you that was formed in eternity before you ever had a name. That is you carries leadership. You see, when you don't know yourself, you'll spend your life trying to become someone else. You'll mimic their strengths, copy their voice, follow their path, and completely miss your own. But your power is in your difference, not your duplication. Your authority is in your authenticity. That's why Jesus never imitated the religious leaders of His day. He didn't sound like them, dress like them, or act like them. They had position. But He had identity. And that identity came from His relationship with the Father. He said, only do what I see my Father do. That's the spirit of leadership, not imitation, but revelation. You cannot lead from a place of insecurity. You cannot lead when your sense of worth depends on other people's applause. Because the moment they stop clapping, you'll stop leading. And that's not leadership, that's bondage. When you truly know who you are, you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to be seen to be significant, because identity gives you confidence that doesn't shift with public opinion. Identity gives you boldness that doesn't shrink when you're misunderstood. Identity gives you direction that doesn't change with every new trend. So many people today are confused, not because they lack potential, but because they never took the time to understand themselves. They are educated, but not self-aware, talented, but insecure, gifted, but disconnected from their true identity. And so they spend years chasing an image instead of unlocking the vision God placed inside them. Your leadership will only begin to emerge when you stop asking, who should I be like? And start asking, Who was I created to be? That's the question that shifts everything. Because when you ask that question, you start moving from imitation to intention. You stop comparing and start becoming. Let me tell you, your difference is your assignment. The way you think, the way you see, it was all designed to fulfill something unique in the earth. But if you spend your life covering what makes you different, you are also covering what makes you powerful. Leadership doesn't come from trying to impress others. It comes from discovering your design and aligning your life with it. You are not here to repeat what others have done. You are here to initiate what has never been done before through you. The key to leadership is not in books or titles or even followers. It is in the discovery of purpose that awakens identity. Once you know who you are, you'll know what you're not. You'll stop competing with others because competition ends where identity begins. That's why when David showed up on the battlefield, he refused Saul's armor. Because leadership begins when you stop trying to wear what doesn't fit you. David knew, I can't fight with this. It's not mine. And some of you are fighting battles in someone else's armor. You're trying to fulfill your calling with someone else's strategy. That's why it's not working. When you finally discover your own voice, your own rhythm, your own grace, you step into a realm of leadership that no man can give you and no man can take away. Because it's not built on imitation, it's built on identity. And identity births authority. And authority attracts influence. Not because you demanded it, but because people are drawn to authenticity. Now that you've heard this message, I want to speak directly to your spirit. Not your job, not your title, not your status, but the real you. The person behind the performance. The leader hidden beneath the labels. The original blueprint God placed inside of you before you were even born. You were not created to wander through life trying to prove your worth. You were created with purpose. You were sent into the earth to solve a problem, to fill a void, to be an answer. And until you reconnect with that reason, until you discover who you truly are, you will live beneath your potential. No matter how much success you gain, you don't need another title. You don't need more applause. What you need is a revelation. A revelation of your identity. A revelation of your assignment. A revelation of the leader that's been sleeping inside of you, waiting for permission to rise. But today, I came to declare you no longer need permission to become. Heaven already approved of you. You were authorized before you were recognized. And when God gave you life, He also gave you leadership, not as a title, but as a spirit. So stop waiting to be chosen. You were chosen before time began. Stop comparing yourself. There is no competition when you walk in your own calling. Stop imitating. Your uniqueness is your leadership advantage. This generation is not looking for more celebrities. It's not craving more noise. This generation is crying out for authentic leadership. Men and women who know who they are, why they're here, and what they were born to do. That's why the spirit of leadership must be awakened in you. Not tomorrow. Now, because the greatest tragedy in life is not death. It is living your entire life and never becoming who you were born to be. It's dying full of vision, full of potential, full of solutions that the world never saw because fear, doubt, and imitation kept you hidden. It's not your story. You were born to rise. You were born to influence. You were born to lead, not with arrogance, but with assignment, not through control, but through clarity. So go back to the original you. Go back to the design. Go back to the garden where God said, let them have dominion. That includes you. The spirit of leadership is not about climbing a ladder. It's about carrying a calling. And when you discover it, protect it, and walk in it, the world will never be the same again. You were not born to fit in. You were born to lead. Now it's time to become who you were born to be.